Alright everyone, how's it going? So today, the ATC 50ASL, A active, SL, super linear bass woofer thing. I know what you're thinking, well, I'm wearing a jacket indoors, it's not raining, something wrong with me, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, it's a vintage feel. This has got a cabinet design, well, cabinet aesthetic, which feels like it's very old school sounding, right? So I'll put a jacket on that. Anyway, besides the point, guys. Best mid-range on the planet. On the planet. It looks like a planet. Super dispersive. Super wide. Doesn't matter where you stand. Sounds incredible. Might be the best thing on the planet. And what it is, it's listenable. Anyway, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So what it's got. The 50ASL active, as I say, they do passive versions, they do smaller monitors, they do bigger monitors. This is kind of like some sort of weird mid-bit between the massive ones. You go all the way up to like, I think it's 300 ASL or something like that, 200 ASL, I don't know. But this is the 50ASL. So they have smaller ones, which are more like a meter bridge size, like a 25A. And they have the same mid-range, but they don't have it. They have a different dome tweeter. It's like a more of a, looks like a miniature version of this a little bit more fabricy. And then they don't have, they have a different woofer basically. It's not a super linear version, which may or may not make any difference to you whatsoever. But we'll see why, because basically the mid-range feels like it takes up such a massive amount of the listening bit that you're actually hearing, that I feel like some of the other bits, if you haven't heard this and you just listen to the 25A or you just listen to the 45A before this, you'd be mistaken to think, oh, like, they're amazing, like perfect, sound really good, like look and get mixes to translate super well on this, and everything's like really nice and like sort of no ear fatigue. There's no like really pointy stuff. Everything's really like soft and round, well, not rounded, but kind of like yeah, maybe rounded, just comfy listening. It's just comfy listening. So but anyway, so the super linear bass and sub bit, there's a little port here which they say is tuned to what? Who knows? Nobody knows. On the smaller ones, you have a little bung thing, you can put it into the 25A so you can soffit mount them if you choose to. And like rack mount and stuff like that. They're very heavy still. Speaking of heavy, these monitors, 50 kilograms. I know what you're thinking, don't put yourself down. I can lift these. Even under this jacket, no problems. You know that I can lift it. You'd be wrong. At least a two-person lift. You can try and go ahead at this. If you've got money to spare, try and have a go at lifting this. You will injure yourself beyond all reason. So, and I know they go a lot heavier than this, so it's the best part of 49 kilograms they've got it listed as, and it is very heavy. There's a massive amp pack at the back, which is, I don't even think I can spin it round, it's that heavy. But on the back, there's two little notches. You've got like a sensitivity knob, which is like a little screwdriver, and you can kind of adjust it to the input signal that you're expected to hear. And the other side is a 0 dB like flat, and then a plus 6 dB at 40 hertz if you want to hear more of that sub, I don't know where the shelf is, I don't know if it's maybe a -6 sort of octaves, dB octave kind of whatever it is. Who cares? Adds more bass. Does it sound good? Yes. The tweeter, I don't know what this tweeter's doing, but it's the S-Spec version, right? And it isn't on the 25, it is on the 45A, but they don't have this SL on the 45A. So the 50 has the full package. And I think this is the smallest monitor they do with the full range of boom mid-range, boom S-Spec, boom SL, super linear woofer cone thing. Loads of little adjustable things. I mean, I won't adjust them, but someone's adjusted them. So it's probably the way that the frame moves. Anyway, the cabinet. The resonance. Do we think it's solid? It is solid. But as you can hear, it's not the densest monitor on the planet. It's very heavy, don't get me wrong. But I feel like you're in a bit of the cabinet. Sue me guys. Can you hear a bit of the cabinet? I think so. There's bits and pieces. But if you isolate them, you're laughing. And if you soften mount these, it's a joke. I mean, if you look at top-end mastering engineers and top-end places like Sterling Sound in America, and there's a few places over here in the UK where they soffit mount these, and I've even seen them on like those anchor stands where they're kind of like a little bit more isolated and stuff. But I've had them on pucks, I've had them on ISO frames, big ones, small ones, and they feel pretty good through the bottom. They're not the best cabinet resonance I've ever heard in my life, but I'm talking, this is really, really high level, picky nonsense, right? There's plenty of structure in here where you're not hearing loads like and stuff like that. And anything you are hearing, I think is probably nice anyway, so don't worry about it. But anyway, the Aspect Tweeter, I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what it's doing. Something sounds more detailed. And I've listened to 25, the 45 and the 50s. I have heard the 100s, I think, but I'm not 100%, obviously different room and stuff like that. So it's a bit apples and oranges, I don't know what I'm comparing with, right? Anyway, this mid-range, when I say it's more listenable than any mid-range I've ever heard, I mean in terms of, I've heard mid-range which I think, oh God, that sounds really good. I feel like I could move this resonance, whatever. This feels like, in a weird way, I don't want to say hi-fi is offensive, but like, I mean, it feels flat and appealing. It feels like I can listen to this mid-range and go, if a mix sounds bad, it will tell you straight away by just this. You can put a blooming cloth over these two and go, right, cool, does it sound good? So you might be thinking, well, why don't I just buy the 25s? Why don't I just buy the 45s? And you've been mistaken. They're good. They're in the same family. They're there. But I put these up against each other. And for some reason, and I think it's the amp pack. Could be talking nonsense. But basically, the same amp pack is in this that goes up to the 50s, 100s, 110s, up to 150, and it changes at 200. Whether they're doing the same thing exactly, I'm not 100%. Only ATC knows that. They only know this. I don't know. But it's the same massive, you can remove the amp pack at the back and you can sort of soffit mount these and you can have it in like a separate rack and stuff like that. But I basically think that whatever it is, for whatever reason, you've got plenty of power in there. It's very, very quiet. And it feels like, because it's like sort of under delivering the amount of ampage that's allowed, everything feels like it's working. It's like not working too hard, and therefore you're getting like a really, really balanced picture. Is there a problem with this? Is there a problem with this massive monitor? Other than being massive, far too big for my room probably. The bass felt a little bit. So I'm used to people giving me bass and it's going have that, right? Really, just, well, probably too much, right? So I'm used to that. So it took me a while to get used to the sound of what these are actually doing and how flat the bass actually is. Like I said, when a mix translates, it translates on these and there's plenty of bass. There's not too much bass, but I'm thinking straight away, I was like, oh, do I need a sub with these? And I've seen the mastering people, so maybe that had tempted my ears. I'm thinking, or maybe they, you know, maybe they've got an extra sub because they want to hear it just for mastering and things like that. And I found myself maybe boosting 6 dB at the back. I was thinking, oh yeah, whatever. And I think if they were soffit mounted, I'm not joking, I think this would be another level. So yeah, they're incredible. I thought the bass was maybe a bit less sort of punching, kind of what I'm used to, a bit more neutral sounding. That's probably the best way I can describe them. But again, I know incredible mixing engineers that mix on these and bigger and smaller actually, on 25s especially, and they're getting a really balanced thing. And I think that's thanks to this mid-range. You might be saying, oh well, it's not all about mid-range and stuff. You're wrong. It is all about mid-range. And this bit here, this thing has this crazy dispersion where you can kind of move around and all that kind of stuff. And it feels like it's all like spherical. It's like, it's a bit more, doesn't matter where you stand. We can walk around and you can kind of, I feel like they'd be really impressive for tracking and like clients where they want to hear like the real kind of like meat and potatoes, for lack of a better word, of that mid-range where it just gives you all the information. And you can hear distortion very easily as well. You can hear like if something doesn't translate in the mid-range, if there's something a bit pokey, it will just tell you and it will come across as like really even. And so I think it's basically, I wrote it down, it's something like three, let me look. It's three, so the crossovers are 308 hertz to 3.5K. So that means this thing here is 380 hertz to 3.5K without a crossover. So that is a massive amount of information from your finished track or your listening experience, which is why when you're listening to this, there's no crossovers between that range. So it feels like you're hearing, everything you're hearing is really like even, and there's no kind of like weird, you know, where the crossovers might meet and start doing some weird phasey stuff where you have to dampen and all this kind of sciencey stuff, which I don't know anything about. But to my ears, it's a very listenable mid-range, a very soft mid-range. But if there's something too distorted, you will hear it straight away and you go, wow, I need to get rid of that. I need to attenuate stuff. So I think if you've got a good mix, it will sound good on these. If your mix is slightly falling apart, here on these. And I think that's why people are mastering them. They're so like kind of broadband. They feel more like, they don't feel clinical, but they don't feel like loose either. They're all like together, but there's not like this weird massive extended low end, and there's not this crazy extended top end, but everything's like just enough. It's a very analog sounding monitor. If that's a thing, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is, but I really like them. I find them hard to mix on personally, because I'm so used to mixing with like subs and low end and things like that, and the correlation between those bits. But I really feel like if you've nailed it on this monitor, when you listen on something else, you go, wow, that mix sounds incredible. So the thing is, it's not flattering. It'll just give you what's there. The dispersion's perfect. And for some reason at this 50 ASL range, I think even above the 25s and the 45s, something magical happens in a weird way that everything feels just a little bit more detailed and a bit more separate. And that's my overview of these. Go and have a listen. They're amazing. And if you're thinking, I can't afford that, it's about 13 grand, 13 and a bit. I can't afford that range, but I really want to hear what this mid-range is going on. Get yourself a pair of the 25As. They're very small. They will suit small rooms. And even the 45s, I've seen loads of pop producers starting to use these now. 45s where they've got 2 ports at the side, and they've kind of got like 2 woofers here, and they've got the same mid-range, and they've got the same S-spec tweeter, but they don't have this super linear woofer. And for all the lacking bass that I felt like I couldn't hear enough bass and this feels really flat, I went back to the 45s and I was like, oh, okay, there's definitely something missing here. So whatever the combined effect of this to our ears is, it's incredible. The only reason I wouldn't want to buy these for my room is because I think my room's too small to suit them, and I have to literally soffit mount them to work out if they're going to work and stuff like that. But if you've got a bigger room, I am not joking. Can you find anything better than this mid-range? I don't think so. Thanks for watching, guys.